Welcome back, Mojo Sports Championship Week preview. We got all the bangers lined up. Got some great games, great playoff implications, even. But I think the first thing we got to start off the show with is some Lane Kiffin talk because this guy, he's just been parading around. He's got Ole Miss lined up well in the playoffs, and they don't even have to play in the conference championship. And then he gets in a bidding war and takes the LSU job because they're offering him some more money and it's a better destination, in his opinion. I would agree. And now we got Lane down in Baton Rouge, and a lot of drama comes with this because Ole Miss does not want him to coach in the playoffs. So they told him, pack your bags, you're gone. He said, fine, I'm going to take the entire offensive staff with me. I'm going to take all the guys I can. Um, Now we're sitting here. The committee didn't seem to care, Joe. They kept him at number 6 or number 7, and yeah, they're gonna ride along. They still have their offensive coordinator. He's gonna run the show now, and they've officially promoted their defensive coordinator to be the new head coach this year.
Yeah. Uh, got really messy, and I don't think anybody saw it going any differently with Lane leaving. We always knew it was going to be messy if he did leave. Ole Miss views themselves the same way as LSU. They think they're the same caliber and kind of have a standing with that right now because LSU, bad season. They had a multi tens of millions dollar man in Brian Kelly, and they've fallen to depths that they haven't been since before Coach O. So, I mean, yes, it's a better destination, but does he come out of this as a winner? I don't know. I think now people just view him as what he has always been, and I think he was dropping that stigma a little bit at Ole Miss because he'd been there for 6 years. There hadn't been any drama. There was talks of him maybe going to a few different jobs while he's been at Ole Miss, but he chose to stay. And then for some reason, this one becomes the one he jumps to. And for us looking at it, it's obvious LSU's the national titles, the pedigree, all that comes with LSU. So as a fan, I don't think that it's a bad move, but as a soap opera college football watcher, it's easy to be like, yeah, fuck Lane Kiffin. You know what I mean?
Ole Miss fans not happy with him.
No, no.
And in fact, they're throwing a bunch of dirt on his name as he leaves. It seems like everything they were keeping secret, they're now just putting out wide open. Sounds like he's been sleeping with co-eds, got a lot of relationships down there. And he's also even had his yoga class turned on him. Girls are starting to out him. Everybody knew that Lane was big into yoga. And as soon as he left, the yoga instructor, she posted a TikTok about how great it is that he's not in her class anymore. Other students in the class even talking about how he just fucks around the whole time, which is so funny to me.
Perfect. Yep.
He's rolling golf balls at them. One girl said every time she would get in a pose, he would like push her over, like knock her over on purpose. So like, which some of Lane's friends came out and they were like, yeah, this is what this guy does. He just fucks around. He loves chaos. He loves to like piss people off and troll. So Lane Kiffin, good for college football. He is so good for college football. A hilarious guy. And I got an update that he's already doing hot yoga at LSU with Alpha Phi, which is a sorority over there. So he's just diving right in and loving life, loving every second of it.
Picking up right where he put it off. I think the best story out of this whole thing was the dog. His dog apparently was like a rental dog that some kennel in Ole Miss, at Ole Miss, I guess, like on the campus or something like that. And he just claimed it was his dog type thing, or people thought it was his dog, but really it was the kennel's dog. So I mean, everything that's come out of this whole story has just been the epitome of what we thought Lane Kiffin was and kind of flew under the radar for 5, 6 years. And then we'll pick this right back up in 4 or 5 years when he takes an NFL job after either it goes really well or not great. He's going to leave. Like this is not the final stop for Lane Kiffin. He's way too young. way too much energy to not try to make some sort of splash in the NFL or some other. I don't think he can get a bigger college job, right? There's not really that many bigger jobs out there, but who knows? Who knows?
And he seems like he's doing basically what most guys would do, right? He's just having fun with it, breaking away from the standard traditional coach. Like a Saban would never do this, but he's very open about it and he'll come at you on Twitter. He's very outspoken. And all I know is LSU is going to like him a hell of a lot more than they liked Brian Kelly. That's a guarantee.
Yeah. I think just to give the insight, we haven't talked about the rankings, and I can read the rankings quick. So to put Ole Miss in the picture here, they're sitting at number 6. So we've got Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Notre Dame, BYU, and Miami. Those are your top 12. So number 12, Miami, gets bumped by the Group of 5 champion, which currently is Tulane, sitting at number 20. And then we have North Texas and JMU at 24, 25. So we'll get into the conference games later and we'll talk about what all that means. But right now, you're looking at a BYU in, a Miami out, and who knows what we're going to get. But the committee is going to be fucked after this weekend. And I am so excited to see what they have to choose from.
Well, they fucked themselves, if you ask me.
Yep.
They did
Yep.
it all to themselves, and they got to deal with those consequences. We also had big Penn State news, right? Penn State, they seem to be the first big program that fired their coach. And now we're sitting here, the regular season's over, and they still don't have a replacement. And everybody else is replacing coaches or extending coaches. I saw a stat that was saying that because of that, coaches now in college football have made like over $300 million in contract extensions. And it seems to be a domino effect from the James Franklin firing, which, if we hit on that, you can see that James Franklin, he just landed a top 25 recruiting class at Virginia Tech. Meanwhile, Penn State, they're outside of the top 130 right now in recruiting. Like they're behind schools that aren't even FBS. They only landed 2 commits. Insane.
Yeah.
And they're in a terrible spot. They're in the worst spot that I've ever seen. And I don't know what's going on over there. They tried to get the BYU coach. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because
Kalani
I'm
Sitake.
Sataki. Correct. Right. They tried to get him. And what happened with that?
So basically, BYU heard the rumblings, right? It was like, oh, big bad Penn State's coming to town. We got our coach that's gonna leave. Everybody just assumed he's gone. It's a way bigger job. It's way more money. Wrong. This is now the new era of college football where everybody can throw their dick around if you're a donor. And in this case, you can throw your crumble cookies around because the crumble cookie CEO, BYU alum, he steps up, tweets out, hey, sometimes, you can't let good people go. Time for me to get involved, which is just peak college football. It's incredible. And what happened? They threw every ounce of donor money that BYU had to spare at Coach Taki, and he is staying. Penn State lost out because they had a handshake agreement. The handshake agreement doesn't mean shit when you have a guy that's never left Utah and loves the university, loves the people there. So BYU keeps their guy. Massive win for BYU. And in my opinion, this is a massive win across the board. You look at Indiana, same thing. No way 5 years ago does Signetti stay at Indiana. It wouldn't happen. But now you got this new era of college football. People can throw money at it whenever they want. And you have these programs that wouldn't stand a chance historically. But now, what does Penn State have that other places don't? History. Not a great history if you dig deep enough.
Yeah, not great. Not great at all. And the 2 kids they landed today are both from Pennsylvania. So they're going to have to rely on in-state recruiting. But yeah, they missed their chance with all the big coaches. And now people look back and they go, should you have fired Franklin? Right? And guess what? If they kept Franklin, they would probably still be under heat right now. But then you actually pull the trigger and you fire him, and you're under way more heat than you would have been. And you don't have her. It just baffles me that they just didn't get anybody in the meantime. Like, how many coaching positions have been filled since he was fired? And
Yeah,
they're
let me
not one
let
of
me
them.
read you the list if you wanna hear them.
Yeah, let's hear the coaching carousel because it's been pretty crazy, and in the last few days, it's really picked up, and I would say most of the spots have been filled.
Yeah, it's just insane how badly it's been handled. So, Virginia Tech, obviously James Franklin, Oklahoma State filled their role, Kent State filled their role, California filled, Auburn filled, LSU, Lane Kiffin filled, Florida filled, Arkansas, UCLA, Stanford, Ole Miss, Michigan State, Colorado State, North Texas, Oregon State, USF, Kansas State, and Kentucky all filled their jobs. So Penn State's just looking around the room. They're the person at the dance with no fucking date. Everybody else got a date and they don't have one. And I just can't understand. There's about 16 names on this list that were rumored for this Penn State job, and they must have just fucked up this hiring process so badly to make those guys feel like they were playing second fiddle. Because even Sataki, I don't think that was their number one choice. I think he
No.
was about plan D.
I mean, we even threw around like Fitzgerald over at
Right.
Northwestern. Like he goes to Michigan State, right? Brian Hartline, wide receivers coach at Ohio State. He has produced the best wide receivers that are currently in the NFL outside of LSU. He's produced all of them. And he even gets a job at South Florida. Like, what are we doing, Penn State? What are we doing? And I know you grabbed
It's
a screenshot of the Penn State athletic director. He got hacked, right? His Twitter
yeah.
got hacked, and they basically were like, "We have no clue what the fuck we're doing." Like, we're panicking.
Yeah, I just there is a 0% chance that this guy keeps his job, and I think you have two options if you're Penn State right now. The first option, interim head coach, their defensive coordinator, I think. He's been coaching, just give him the title, right? That's option one, and I think that's probably their best option at this point. It's kind of throwing up the white flag and whatever, but that's what I see as their choice. The other choice is you go out and make a splash hire, like Dable, Gruden, someone that isn't really in these conversations that nobody really wants to hire, but where the fuck do they turn now? Like I just you bring Coach O in. I don't even know if Coach O's taking this job because he's going to join the staff with Lane Kiffin down at LSU. So I cannot imagine Penn State's AD keeping his job after this. It's insane.
It definitely feels like they are hiring someone that has a big name that probably doesn't deserve to have this opportunity. I could definitely see that. You're going to bring in a former NFL coach. You're going to bring in like a Gruden, perfect example. Don't know how well he fits out there, but at this point, they just need a name, right? That's your best option. Go get a name. And I hope it's not Dan Mullen over at UNLV because I've heard it thrown around. I don't think it's happening.
I've got a few Penn State friends, and essentially they're just wanting this to end. They don't care who it is. Like, just fill the job because they're bleeding. Like you said, their recruiting is bleeding, and they're not going to make that up. Like, they hire a guy, it doesn't matter who they hire necessarily, unless they, resurrect Bear Bryant or something like that. Like, that's the only way they could save themselves right now is if they just bring in Urban Meyer off the street or something. I don't know. Nick Saban gets a call like that. That's the only way you save your job. And no other name is going to save their job right now.
No, no, not at all.
Insane.
Yeah, they're in the worst spot you could think of, and it's just gonna be so hard to build back from this, especially when you see Virginia Tech rise above you. Like, that is very likely to happen with what we're looking at, is that Virginia Tech is gonna be head and shoulders above you in 2 years.
I cannot wait to see the total count of transfer portal out of Penn State.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot, and they don't have much to give, and then to make matters worse with the whole cookie crumble thing, at Virginia Tech for signing day, they just happened to order crumble cookie to cater for their signing day party, and, Yeah, I just love how these programs throw shade at each other so
Oh, yeah.
indirectly, and it's all over Twitter.
Incredible.
Next storyline I wanted to hit on was I saw Ohio State. They may have a case this year for being the greatest defense that college football has ever seen. And we can talk about 2001 Miami, which is likely the greatest team of all time. We can talk about some of those Bamas in the early 10s. We could talk about recent Georgia years, but right now they just ended the regular season. They're only allowing 7.8 points per game and only 203 yards per game, which is just unheard of. And it's better than any of those teams that we just talked about as far as points per game. Yards per game, there's a couple that are better, but for the most part, this is probably the most dominant defense we've ever seen. And I wonder if it's a little bit of a case of playing bad Big Ten offenses. There is a possibility of that because the Big Ten is gross, and most of the teams that were on their schedule this year were the gross ones that you think of for the Big Ten. But if they are the greatest defense ever and they have this offense with Sayan and the horses he has on the outside at wide receiver, I just don't know if anybody's going to beat them this year. They might just run it
Yeah.
back to back and they might never lose again.
If we see this weekend, if they cover that 4, convincingly, they win by, even if it's a 7-point game, but it doesn't feel like a 7-point game, I will be fully in that camp because I put Indiana up there as not a bad offense, right? Like they've been able to move the ball against pretty much anybody. They've had some low scoring battles, but they've been able to sneak those out. So this weekend is just such a big game to watch that and to see Indiana Ohio State, the game that literally everybody's been wanting. Aside from College Game Day, I mean, can we talk about the blasphemy of them going to Georgia Alabama? Like we've seen Georgia Alabama how many fucking times in the past, and they choose that game over the two undefeated. Like, yeah, talk about a
It's pure
sellout.
bias. It's
Yeah,
pure bias. Like,
it's
they're in
insane.
bed with the SEC. We all know it. Just as guilty as Fox is with the Big Ten, right? If this game was a shitter and Georgia Bama was going to be like the best game ever, Fox would still favor the Big Ten. So it's gross all around. But yeah, college game day. You're supposed to be our main source for college football mornings. And yeah, you fucked up.
Yeah, that's not the best game of the day.
Not at all. Um, and we will get to that game later. I'm excited to talk about that one. Um, hit me with some TikTok. You told me you saw some TikTok earlier.
Yeah, so Jameis Winston, he's got a great TikTok account that I was not aware of, but it came up on my feed this week, and I just wanted to call out this TikTok today because it's it's one of the funniest things I've seen in a while, and I think he post football is going to have an electric media career. Like it's going to be just week in, week out with this guy. So this week he had one, it's a trend, I'm sure. I haven't seen the trend, but he's sitting there staring at a New York subway, looking away from the camera, and the caption just says, "In your early 20s, you're going to walk by the seafood section at Publix. It's very important you keep walking." As like a growth thing. So
Yeah.
Jameis Winston, he's doing it big on TikTok, and I just had to call that out because I thought that was fucking hilarious.
Will defend Jameis any chance I can on the crab leg situation because he was innocent, Joe. I hate to break it to you. He was completely innocent. The guy that worked at the grocery store met him one time, was like, "Hey, you buy a lot of crab legs. And I just want to let you know anytime you come here, those are on the house. I got you. You're our Heisman." And then Jameis was like, "Oh, that's sick." And Jameis started doing it. And Jameis got caught. And Jameis was like, "Well, I'm not going to rat out this sick dude that just let me get all these crab
Gave
legs."
me the
So he's
credit.
like, "I'll take the fall for it." And he also said it was not as bad if he did that because he would just get a quick suspension for a game or something rather than saying that he took benefits. Because if he
That's
actually
right.
said that he was getting the crab legs for free, he'd be in way more trouble. So he was like, I might as well just say that I stole from a store, which is something you can actually get arrested for in real life. He was like, this is way more important in college football that I don't take these benefits. So I
How
defend
dumb is that?
Jameis. It's so
Yeah,
fucked up. Yeah, it's so
yeah.
dumb.
Because nowadays he'd have a deal. He'd have a Publix NIL deal where he'd be
Yeah, crab leg
literally
deal.
sitting in a live crab tank with crabs, and he'd be paid a couple $100,000 to do it. Instead, he had to commit a crime so that he wouldn't commit a bigger NCAA violation and literally ruin his career. Yeah. That
I
shows you how
went
fucked up the incentives were before.
I went to the first college football playoff game ever, Oregon versus Florida State at the Rose Bowl, and Jameis versus Mariota. And we started chanting crab legs to Jameis. We were like doing this. And the lady next to us was a Florida State fan, and she was livid. She was like, it's a legend. She's like, you guys are horrible. She started going off on us. And she was right. She was right. In the end, she was right. Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to
Um,
him. Great,
Shout
great
out
TikTok
Jameis.
follow.
Yeah. Uh, and if he doesn't move on to do interviews or anything later in life, he'll at least be a pastor. That's what he said. He wants to be a pastor, and he would be electric. I'll start going to church again.
He'll have a mega church right next to Joel Osteen in
Yeah.
Houston, except he'll probably be a good guy, not a piece of shit.
I know which one I'm picking. Also, recruiting news. This is a shakeup for college football, but the number one recruit in the nation, he's a quarterback, and he was committed to Georgia for a while. He flipped to Vandy just this week. And we're now living in a world where that's possible, where a number one five-star recruit can switch to a school like Vanderbilt, which just 5, 10 years ago, Vanderbilt was thought of as the bottom of the barrel, an academic school in the SEC that's getting carried by all these big programs. And I don't know if it's Pavia. I don't know if it's all the celebrities that are showing up to these games now, but it feels like an actual shift in college football where you're seeing this type of thing happen.
Yeah. The only thing I can play devil's advocate a little bit here, Raiola did the exact same thing. Committed to Georgia, flipped to Nebraska. So if I'm Vandy, I'd hold my horses on saying this guy's the savior because he might not turn out to be who you think he is.
Fair. But they are going to pay him a shit ton of money, I bet.
It does turn the tide of college football here, and you're gonna see this a lot more. That's what we were talking about the coaches too. Indiana, Virginia Tech, like you're gonna see these schools that traditionally haven't gotten these huge guys, and they're gonna start picking up whoever because just like for Lane Kiffin, the money talks.
And what I thought was funny about the situation was the kid went on Twitter when all these news sources started reporting it. And he was like, whoa, I haven't talked to either school yet. All right, this is fake news. And then, like 24 hours later, he actually does it.
He did
And I-
it.
like, why do you even have to protect? Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't get that where you just feel the need to be, hey, oh, I didn't do that. But yeah, that's actually what I'm gonna do. It makes no sense to me. Last thing I had before we hit these championship game previews is that Kirk Herbstreit, he was a big guy on Twitter this week. He said basically out of conference scheduling is basically going to be boring now. It's going to be terrible because Texas feels like they should be in the playoff, but the reason they're getting held out is because they scheduled Ohio State week 1 and they lost that game. And now they have 3 losses, and the committee doesn't like that they have a 3 in the L column. Granted, Texas, you probably should have won some of those other fucking games, and you probably shouldn't have gone to overtime with schools like Kentucky, right? So I think they have a valid reason for keeping you out, but because of this, there's been a big shift. Alabama, they already reported that they're switching up their out of conference scheduling, and all these teams are about to pull back on scheduling big conference opponent or out of conference opponents to try to boost their power rankings. They would rather take the safe W and try to get in the playoffs later in the season.
Yeah. I think for out of conference scheduling, it's not going to be any different than it was BCS era. You know what I mean? There was
Hmm.
cupcake games every week. So to me, I see the validity in what he's saying, but at the same time, Texas is not out because of the Ohio State loss. Texas is out because of the Florida loss. They lost to a 4-8 Florida team, and that's why they're out. It has nothing to do with the Ohio State loss. Look at the top 11, 12 right now. There's a couple teams with some two losses, you know. So you lose two games and one of those is Ohio State. I don't think it matters. So it's a little bit, I think it's just Sark, you know. You kind of have to become a politician. As soon as the football season's over, if your team's not in, you immediately have to get on the campaign trail and start, you know, advocating for your team because you can easily just blame the committee for something that they brought onto themselves.
You don't think if Texas would have beat Idaho by 60 week one, and right now they're sitting with two losses, you don't think they get in?
Yeah, but you could say the same thing. They lose to Ohio State but beat Florida. They're in. So I don't quite agree with that because you could still have the two losses. You can still have two losses with a tough non-conference schedule and then just run the table in your conference. It's even if you schedule those non-conference games, that means you have to not drop the shitty game to Florida during the season. Like this season also is a little bit different where there could be a lot more 1, 2 loss teams in the playoffs. Last year we had that where there was a couple dominant teams where they only lost two games. So yeah, you lose a non-conference, but that same thing is helping Miami right now. The only reason Miami's in the conversation is because they beat Notre Dame. If they don't schedule that game, Miami's not in this conversation whatsoever.
Moral of the story, be like Notre Dame, don't have a
Yeah.
conference and just schedule a bunch of fucking weaklings every week and you'll get in.
I think this has more to do with the conference. Like the Big Ten has what, 16 teams, 18 teams? At a certain point, we're gonna have to get to some sort of division sort of thing to get to the playoffs. They're inching closer to that, and that's the same thing with the SEC because you're not going to be able to pick between. You're going to argue over strength of loss, which is fucking ridiculous to me. I can't. We're going to have these arguments every year until they fix something. So the non-conference is whatever, but if we just had a clear division schedule in the SEC and the Big Ten, this would all be a little bit of a mute point.
The good news is I don't really give a shit about anybody arguing that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or past that because at the end of the day, there's probably only 5 or 6 teams that can actually win this whole thing. So I don't want them to expand the playoff because you're just going to bring in more teams that can't win the big one. So if you can't beat Florida, this year's Florida team at the Swamp, you're probably not going to beat Ohio State, the greatest defense of all time. But Joe, let's dive into championship week. Let's do some game previews, make some picks, starting with a fresh slate for this and bowl season. Friday, we're going to kick it off. We're going to have Troy. They are going to head to James Madison. And right now, James Madison favored by 23.5 points, over under 47.5. Their head coach is heading to UCLA. He'll be the new head coach over there. Shout out Skip, who took over as interim coach over there. He has now been hired as the head coach at Cal Poly. So congrats to Skip making it out like that. Wish he would have got a better job, to be honest, but we'll take it. And now JMU, they probably need to step on Troy's throats. I think the whole public loves JMU in this spot. They get to host this game. Um, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna be on Troy. That's a lot of points for a championship game.
Yeah. Yeah, 23 and a half is way too many. I like the over too. I like the over. If both teams are going to try to score a bunch, I know JMU's defense is rock solid, so that does worry me a bit with the over, but I mean 23 and a half and you're giving me a 47 point over. if we're thinking it's gonna be a little closer game than that, I don't know if Troy's gonna be a defensive, defensive team here, so we're talking shootout at that point. So let's get a Troy cover and let's get an over.
And it does sound like Bob Chesney, head coach at JMU, it does sound like he will be coaching through the playoffs before he heads to UCLA. So nothing to worry about there, but I'll be taking plus 23.5. And by the way, as UNLV guys, we need this upset. The only way UNLV could find themselves in the playoff is with a JMU loss. We would need a JMU loss. We would also need Duke to beat Virginia. And at that point, they are going to take the highest seeded conference champions, the highest ranked. And there's a chance that UNLV would be ranked higher than Duke, both be conference champions, but whoever the playoff committee has ranked higher will ultimately go to the playoffs, which is why you could see us and either North Texas and Tulane both make it in. Two group of five teams. It really comes down to the playoff rankings. But then after that, we'll get a little Kennesaw State. They're going to head to Jacksonville State. And right now, Kennesaw minus 2.5, over under 59.5.
Yeah, give me Kennesaw State minus 2.5. I don't know.
He said, I don't know. Nobody's been watching these
Blind pick.
teams all year.
I lost a bet with Jacksonville State early in the year, so that's my reasoning.
This is perfect, Joe. I'll be on Jacksonville State.
Perfect.
This is perfect. This is where you love to be, right? Let me tell you, though, we will not have a wager on this game, so you may have the advantage.
Yep. I think it's what are we 3-3 or no? Did we finish? I can't remember if
Yeah,
we
it
had
was
one more
somewhere
after that.
around there, but every time we actually put something on it, I cleaned up.
Yeah, you did. You won the ones that mattered because I have a TikTok that's still there.
Yes, yes. But let's move to some big boy football. We're going to get the Mountain West Championship. UNLV, they got to head to Boise, Idaho. Uh, this matchup now has happened 3 straight years, and Boise State right now favored by 4.5 points, over under 58.5. Our quarterback, Calandria, he just won Mountain West Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. First Rebel to win that award since Randall Cunningham did it back-to-back years in the 80s. So that's pretty awesome, Joe. That's pretty fucking awesome, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's sick. And Boise's won the last 10 meetings between these teams, so it's just the thorn we can't get out of our side. And these are the best 3 years of UNLV football history. We've talked about that. They have had 2 consecutive 10-win seasons for the first time in program history. So it's been a great time to be a Rebel. And I don't really care what the stats are. I don't really care what the line is. At this point, we just blindly bet the Rebels, and it's time to go all in. This is the year. So they have a banged up quarterback. I think he had an amputated leg. They said he's going to play, though. So I'm hoping that that leg doesn't hold up. And for him, lifelong, I hope his leg's okay. But on Saturday, I hope it's not okay. And I hope that the Rebels can get this done. So I'm going to be on UNLV money line and fuck the points. It's Rebels in Boise. Let's run the rock. Let's get Calandria playing Mountain West Player of the Year. Let's see it. Come on.
I'm not afraid of their quarterback, Joe. To me, he's a white group of five Kyler Murray. That's all he is. He's
Wow.
not that good. He's undersized. And the only reason he even got any play is because they had Taylon Green, who's now at Arkansas, and came in for him and basically said, hey, this is how you run the offense. This is how you do it. And he doesn't, to me, doesn't do anything special. And Boise fans, you can keep the receipts. Keep the receipts. When we win this game, yeah, I'm going to post this clip anyways. But he's not that good, Joe. He really isn't. I will not be betting on this game. I've got UNLV 7-1 to win the Mountain West
That's right.
Championship already. The only bet that I could possibly make on this game would be a hedge to guarantee profit, but I'm not doing that, Joe. I'm not doing it. I'm taking the money that I've already got, put in the bank, and I'm waiting for that return.
Is there a cash out option? I'm just curious. I'm not saying to take it.
To be honest, I don't even live in a state that allows this sports book. I did it through FanDuel, and I live in Nevada, which they're not legal here. So
Mm,
I haven't even looked. I've got to go across state lines to even get this money, which I will.
right, right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's go Rebels, baby.
Let's go Rebels. I'll tell you what, if you offered plus 700 on UNLV in this game, money line to the Sharps, they would eat you up. All right. So I already feel like I got CLV. And then after UNLV beats the absolute piss out of Boise, we then get to watch the group of five banger that everybody's waiting for. North Texas, they're going to Tulane on Friday night. Right now, spread North Texas minus 2.5, over under 66.5. Very high total. We've gotten used to seeing this with North Texas. Elite offense, right? Elite offense. And I think I'm going to take the under, which is just psychotic, I'm sure. But I think Tulane is going to approach this game with the mindset that they need to slow down North Texas if they want to win this game. They need to run the ball efficiently, which honestly they're not amazing at, but I think game script wise, that's what they want to do.
Give me North Texas. Give me North Texas. I'm gonna take the points, 2.5. I'm not betting on anything aside from their offense, so I think they'll try to slow it down, but when they make so many big explosive plays like that, I don't think it'll matter. If North Texas gets a 14-point lead, this game's over and Tulane won't be able to catch up. So I think I'm on North Texas here. And are both coaches gone? This is a both coaches left situation, but they're both still continuing to coach?
Yeah, I believe they're both continuing the coach. It seemed like basically all the group of five schools were like, hey, Ole Miss, this is how you do it. This is what you do.
Yeah.
When a guy leaves, you pat him on the back and then you say, finish the fucking job. So Tulane's coach, Summerall, he's going to Florida, which huge job for him, obviously. And North Texas, they're going to promote from within, from what I believe, Neil Brown. And then Eric Morris is now going to take over for Gundy over at Oklahoma State. But both of these coaches will be coaching in the championship and in the playoffs.
This is a great Friday night slate. And I like how they put all the non-Power 4 games on Friday and then the Power 4 games or Power 5 games on Saturday. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And what I noticed too is all the Friday ones are home games. They're all
Yeah.
hosted by the school that is the one seed. But then on Saturday, those are all neutral locations. So let's move to
I
Saturday.
I I
What do
misspoke
you got?
too. There's a MAC game on Saturday. I misspoke. That's
There
my
is a MAC
fault. It's
game.
not all. Yeah.
Might as well be, right? Might as well be Power Five.
Yeah.
That MAC game, though, I did look, it is being played at Ford Field, which is
Yep.
not a home
Always.
stadium for either. So it still stays true. On Saturday, we get all neutral sites. And the first matchup we get on Saturday is BYU versus Texas Tech. And I believe this is being played at Jerry World, AT&T Stadium in Texas. And right now the Red Raiders are favored by 12.5, over under 49.5. Joe, do you have a lean for this game? Where do you want to go with this?
I had no lean until all the stuff that happened at BYU happened, and now you're a dumbass if you don't take the 12.5. You can't see that and then not bet it. It's just I don't know what you want to call it. You want to call it God. You want to call it, don't fade Christ. We're going back to that because
Don't fade Christ.
yeah, it's written in stone there. We're taking BYU 12.5.
I also will be taking BYU plus 12.5. This is the smash play for me. This might be the play that I like the most on the whole slate of Friday and Saturday, to be honest. And if BYU does happen to win this game, that is what is going to knock out Miami for absolute good and going to shake up the rankings because there is no way Texas Tech falls out of the rankings. So this will create
Chaos,
chaos.
chaos, it's
Yes.
chaos. That's all we're rooting for. Our bets, yes, chaos more than our bets. Probably not, but kinda.
Shout out Mormons. From there, we go to Maction, which we just talked about, but we get Miami of Ohio versus Western Michigan. I would say not your typical Maction championship. Western Michigan, being in there for me, I think that's a little different than normal. I don't remember Western Michigan being good other than like the Corey Davis years, to be honest. But here we are, and Western Michigan sitting minus 2.5 right now, over under 43.5. Typical low Maction total. Joe, do you have a play for this one? Because I'm gonna be honest, I was searching and couldn't really find it. Seems like a game I would normally just take the under in, and I don't know. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, I don't like the slander here. Western Michigan, pretty decent historically in the MAC, okay? Pretty decent historically in the MAC. You're correct in the sense that that 13-1 year, 2016, shout out. I know
That was
Wyatt's
Corey
listening
Davis,
right now,
right?
a long snapper for the team. Yeah, yep. PJ Fleck, the boys, great, great run for them there. But they've been historically pretty good. They always have about 9 wins. They're always a good MAC team. So
Not a MAC
I
champion though. They're not like a dominant MAC in my mind. Is that fair?
well, you've had Frank Solich running the show over there at Ohio for the
Yeah.
Bobcats, who's arguably one of the best college football coaches at any school in history. I mean, he's the winningest MAC coach. He was incredible at
Well, he
Nebraska.
was there for
That's where
25 years,
Nebraska.
Joe.
Right. Yeah, he's a damn good coach, but he left. Obviously, he's been done for a little bit. So now you got a new Mac, and I love Western Michigan in this game. Miami, we talked about it earlier. Their quarterback declares for the draft, and everybody kind of looked around and was like, "The draft, like the NFL draft," and it was like, "The fuck is this guy talking about?" But he's gone. So I really, really like Western in this game. So if you're looking for a play, I suggest the Western Michigan Broncos.
And I kind of like the under, but this is probably a no play for me. But it just seems
Uh,
like when I look at game on
You're gonna
paper,
play it.
Miami of Ohio, I mean, they're pretty even on both sides. Um, but Western Michigan, they can run the shit out of the ball, and they're really good at defending the pass. And Miami of Ohio is going to want to pass the ball. They're not going to be able to. And Western Michigan's going to have success around the ball, which to me means bleed clock.
Yeah, Western. Book it.
Western. Um, then after that, we get the classic SEC championship matchup. Georgia, Alabama. This game is being played in Georgia, Mercedes-Benz Dome, so not technically a home game at Athens, but you would expect to see a lot of Georgia fans there. And we all know Alabama travels well. And this is a classic matchup. It's always going to sit around a pick 'em, right? We're not surprised by this line at all. Right now, Georgia favored by 2.5, over under 47.5. And Joe, I got to tell you, I'm going to be rolling Tide.
Yeah, you are, huh? Okay.
No,
I've
hey,
been I've
go
been
against
going
me.
back and
Please
forth
go
because
against me. I think Georgia's the much
no,
hotter
because
team.
yeah,
I think Bama
but
needs
Kirby's
this
got
way
the
more.
yeah, yeah. Kirby's got the Bama problem though, that's a real thing. And so I can't call this one. This one it's not a no play for me because I'm gonna bet the SEC championship, obviously, but I don't know. I really can't decide. I might go back to the bread and butter here with a Bama first half. Just try it again. It didn't work in the first matchup,
Ooh.
but I might go with a Bama first half money line live bet Georgia during the game.
It did work in the first one. I don't think you took it on the show, but Bama got up to an early lead from what I remember, and Georgia came storming back, right? No?
No, Bama fucked us. But yeah, Bama money line did not win in their first matchup. I'm pretty sure I was rooting for a push because Bama could have gone down and kicked a field goal to push the money line. Maybe I took the points, but I'm almost positive I took first half money line Bama, and it's worked in pretty much every game aside from that one. So in
All
this
right.
one, I will be running it back. Bama first half money line, Georgia live bet halftime.
And I'll be on Bama plus 2.5 for this game. After that, though, we get the biggest game that we could possibly imagine. 1 versus 2, right? Ohio State, Indiana, neutral site. Ohio State, we've talked about it. Metrically, they're the best team in the country, and they're favored by 4. There's even a 4.5 out there, over under 47.5. So the way I look at this game, Ohio State's in, Indiana's in already. People have already asked questions about how much they care about this game, how much they care about winning this game. And if anybody cares about winning this game, it's got to be Indiana. Indiana doesn't have the tradition that Ohio State has. A Big Ten championship for Indiana would do absolute numbies. And that's why I'm going to have to be on Indiana. I'm going to take FanDuel's hanging a plus 4.5 right now. Gonna take the plus 4.5 because I think it means that much more to them. Ohio State, probably their best bet. They just played their Super Bowl, right? So now it's time to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. Not saying that they will. I think they definitely try to win this game, but I think it means that much more to Indiana. And I think if we think Indiana's real, I think 4.5 is a little disrespectful. I think Ohio State -3 makes sense, but once you get to 4.5, I think it's a little disrespectful. I'm gonna be all over Indiana. And keep in mind, this game, what state's it being played in?
Indiana.
Exactly.
Yeah. The only problem I have with that is that it's a dome. And I think a dome favors Ohio State because Ohio State has the weapons that Indiana doesn't. And I think Ohio State is going to win this game. I think it's the evil empire. I think Ryan Day is on a fucking warpath this year to just become the new Nick Saban, become the new Bama. And Ohio State's been there. I'm not saying they haven't been dominant, but this is the start of the dynasty. Okay, this is the start of the Ohio State run for 3-4 years. We're gonna watch this play out. I am on Ohio State here. I think Ohio State gets this done. Ohio State has not let me down once when I've bet on them this year. They continually dog teams. The storyline that I'm watching out of this game is this game decides the Heisman. I think this game decides the Heisman. Whatever quarterback comes out and plays better in this game, it's 1-2 in the Heisman race right now. Love is kind of banged up. Notre Dame's not playing this weekend. So that's the number 3. And then the polls, Pavia, or I think Pavia might be 3, Love is 4, whatever. I don't think those two guys matter necessarily because the people voting on it are dumb and they get to watch two guys that are 1-2 play for a Big Ten championship. I think this decides the Heisman, and I think Sayan edges out Mendoza here. I think Mendoza doesn't have his best game against this defense, and I think Ohio State rules.
To be fair, Sayan has the much better team around him.
100%.
So I think it's kind of BS because if Mendoza comes out here and plays a good game and Sayan plays a good game, I mean, if you look at the top 5 Heisman guys, one of Sayan's wide receivers, hello, Jeremiah Smith, he's also in the conversation, which means, hey, you're throwing to this guy, and I would say he's the best player in the entire nation. And Mendoza's doing it without that. Mendoza's got a great wide receiver, don't get me wrong. And we saw that in the Penn State game. I mean, that kid that made that catch, he's definitely going, I would say, first 3 days, or sorry, first 3 rounds of the NFL draft.
Hopefully.
First 3 days. Yeah, he's he'll be in there somewhere. He's getting drafted. But yeah, so I think it's a little unfair. I think if I had to make a Heisman bet right now, it would have to be Mendoza. But yeah, it's electric. We get to see this game play out, and I hope that Indiana packs out this stadium, but I highly doubt it because nobody travels quite like Ohio State.
Yeah. If I was voting Heisman too, I think I would put these guys below Love and Pavia. Like Pavia has carried that team basically on his shoulders in the media, whatever. And Love has been fucking unbelievable. So I like those two guys as Heisman stories better than I like Sayan and Mendoza. But like you said, and what we're gonna do next year, it's our plan for these futures. You pick the quarterbacks on the best teams because most like they're gonna end up in these conversations. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see this game, but we're going head to head because I got Ohio State. I got Ryan Day. Hangover game, my ass. Michigan wasn't even a big game for them. They fucking dogged them.
Next year might actually be the Jeremiah Smith year, now that
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it,
yeah.
because he's gonna be fully evolved. Like, we've already seen his numbers. He gets a touchdown every game, and he's not even old enough to go to the NFL yet. So it does kind of make me think that it's just going to be too easy for him next year. So maybe worth a sprinkle. Um, but either way, if Ohio State wins this game and covers the spread, I fear there's no hope for anybody to beat them. That's what I fear.
I do have some breaking news that I found out too in Arizona. They have these like prediction market things. So, like yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's Onyx Bet. There's a couple other ones where you can bet on these sites. They got player props for college, so it is not a good time to be me because I'm going to be launching some college football anytime touchdowns.
Hey, buy them up now because there was just a class action
Yeah,
lawsuit
yeah. No, I know.
filed
Yeah.
against
I'm
these.
concerned that they won't pay me out, so I'm hoping I can I can sneak in before they
I
get
think they'll
shut
pay
down.
you out, but they are gonna get shut down pretty soon, I think. So get it in while you can.
But Kalshi, how do you say it?
Kalshi.
Kalshi, they just signed with CNN to be the official prediction market in their newsroom, so who the fuck's shutting them down?
Yeah, and Tom Brady did an ad for FTX or whatever the fuck that company's
That's
called,
true.
right? So take it with a grain of salt, right? Let's see how those guys are doing. Freaking having orgies down in Northern California. And then we're going to cap off the night, Saturday night, with the ACC championship. And we don't even know if this is going to provide us a playoff team, but we get Duke versus Virginia, and it's going to be played in North Carolina. Right now, Virginia -3.5. Started off as like almost a pick 'em, and the line has moved over under 57.5. Virginia just beat Duke by 17. It wasn't a close game. You were all over it. You took the money line, despite Virginia being 5.5 point dogs. So I got to ask you, are you running back the system? Are you running it back?
Yeah, I think Virginia just has way too much to play for because I do think if Virginia wins this game, they're in the playoff. I think the committee will take the easy way out. ACC champion, they're sitting with a good enough record to do so. They have good enough wins. I think Virginia gets in the college football playoff if they win this game. So therefore, I just think, I mean, it's a 10-2 team versus a 7-5 team in a conference championship. I'm gonna take those points every fucking time. I want Duke to win. Don't get me wrong. I want Duke in this game. I think everybody kind of wants to see what would happen if Duke wins this game. So I will be rooting for Duke, but I'm going to hedge my happiness with a Virginia bet.
Yeah, this is the game I'm definitely staying away from as of right now. Haven't picked a side, so any Willie Mo Taylors out there, maybe I'll give you something later, closer to game time. Right now, don't have a pick, but I know I'm going to be a Duke fan just for UNLV. Do you think there's any way that they could get in to the playoff if Duke wins this game? Because they have 5 losses. How can you
Yeah.
put a team in that has 5 losses when we're talking about Texas having 3 losses and one of them being against the #1 team in the country?
Yeah. No. And you don't float to group of 5 teams if you're not serious about not putting Duke in. Like, let's not get that twisted. Some committee members floated out there, hey, 2 group of 5 teams, that's possible. That's a way fucking worse product that they're choosing. They know they're choosing a worse product by doing that. So that just tells me how strong of a stance they're taking on not having Duke in this game if they end up winning.
I agree. I don't think there's any way you can put them in. And this may be the only year we get 2 group of 5 teams in. So cherish it because it'll probably never happen again. The chances of Duke doing this and getting to the championship is crazy enough. But yeah, I lean them losing by a touchdown. That's definitely where I lean for now. But Joe, that's it. That's the college football season right there. It's a wrap. We're still gonna have postseason. We're still gonna have bowl games, and We still got Army, Navy, I guess, which, yeah, we'll get to it next week. Always a banger, always a little some dessert, as I like to call it, to end our college football season. But that was the championship preview by Mojo Sports. We appreciate you coming out here on this Monday morning, and we will be back again. Sorry, not Monday morning.
There's
Excuse me. The week's a little off with the whole holidays.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thursday morning, and we will see you again Monday morning for the championship recap as we dive into the actual playoffs that are released.
Yep. Appreciate you guys sticking through the whole season, and more to come from Mojo. Switch up the format a little bit as we get out of football, but appreciate you guys listening, and enjoy the last little taste of regular season slash postseason college football. Adios.